everyone. This is Alicia, and I want to welcome you to the Modern Girls Breakup Guide, How to Survive Your Breakup, Reclaim Your Life, and Find Happiness in True Love Again interview series. Now, from the instant that I met our next guest, I just knew that I had met someone who totally got me. She is a fellow Cali girl, an author, and relationship coach on sex, love, and dating for spiritual hipsters. And what I love about her is that she views relationships, romance, and intimacy as a path of personal growth and empowerment, which it has certainly been for me. She also has a very unique course, How to Break Up with Your Soulmate, that I wish I had when my relationship with my first soulmate began to collapse. And on top of all of that, she has a really dreamy name, Miss Scarlet Amor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I am delighted to be here and talk about all of this soulmate wisdom and love. Yes.
So before we jump into that, please tell us a little bit about you and your own very interesting path with soulmates and working as a sex, love, and intimacy coach.
Yeah, well, I was raised in Southern California by a single mom who got into New Age spirituality. And I remember sitting as a little girl looking through her bookshelf, and she had this old school book on soulmates. And even though I was a little kid, maybe I had cool, ground crushes, but something resonated with me about relationships not just being about the mom and dad and husband and wife, which, my model was a broken marriage. My parents were divorced. Mm-hmm. I knew that there was something more to love and that there was something more to life, that we have something more to give. And this soulmate book really changed my life. And I remember having this vision of being an adult and living with this amazing partner in a beautiful home with an ocean view, doing interviews and writing books about this transformational love. Well, fast forward through my adult life, I went through a lot of relationships and a lot of breakups. And a lot of these connections in these relationships where it felt like this kind of spiritual soulmate love, and then just had this horrid disappointment when those relationships didn't work out. Mm-hmm. So this all leads up to, my work as a relationship coach. I eventually transitioned my therapy practice into intimacy coaching and tantric healing, and worked with a lot of men in particular with their intimacy issues, and interviewed a lot of these men about what was going on in their relationships and so forth. And I learned so much about relationships through that journey and through my own ups and downs that eventually led me to where I am now, in my happy ending. I am living in this beautiful home with an ocean view, with an amazing soulmate life partner. Everything is working in my life, but I have to share with you ladies, this didn't come easy. It came through the place that I'm at now, came from really doing my inner work through each relationship that I did have with each beautiful, amazing person that stepped through my life, to do the growth inside, to finally be a match for a life partner and a soulmate partner.
Right. And Scarlett, and I mentioned before we even started this call that I really wish we had recorded parts of our conversation from about a week ago when we were first talking about this interview series, and we were talking about this whole idea of soulmates. And as I expressed to you, and as everyone else knows about me by now, when I went through my own breakup, I truly and deeply believed in this idea that a soulmate, you only have one shot. You only get one in your lifetime. And when that soulmate relationship collapsed, I really felt like a failure, and I beat myself up for not being able to maintain this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So can you talk to us a little bit about what a soulmate really is? And you just, when you went through your own story, you talked about how you've been through lots of breakups and have had lots of experiences of having these very intense relationships before getting into a relationship with someone who really is a life partner. Can you tell us a little bit about what a soulmate is defined as?
Yeah, well, first we need to drop that whole romantic fantasy and concept that there's only one perfect soulmate out there. Mm-hmm. A lot of the, New Age relationship curriculum, guides people towards this just ridiculously unattainable romantic fantasy that there's one person out there, half of your soul split upon creation, and you both come to this planet incarnate to find each other. And if you don't find that person, you'll be lost. Or if you do find that person and break up with them, you're lost. Mm-hmm. I think it's complete bullshit. I believe that we have many, many soulmates here on this planet. Many relationships were on a soul level, right? On our deepest self. And when I say soul, I'm talking about who we are without our bodies, right? If we die, we're still whole and complete. We still have this consciousness and this being that we uniquely are in this world. And there's a resonance that we have with other people on a soul level that's different than the basic relationships. Now, I'll call it kind of like a vanilla relationship where, you have chemistry, primarily sexual chemistry is what we would relate to a connection to. But that's just biology. That's just our body. We may have emotional and intelligent chemistry, communication, right, compatibility of our life goals and dreams, but then there's this soul level chemistry. And when you have soul level chemistry with someone, with what we'll call a soul mate, it is undeniable. These are the kind of people that the second you meet them and look into their eyes, and that's really the key, it has nothing to do with their physical appearance. Mm-hmm. When you look into their eyes, time stops and bends on itself. You know this person. You immediately love this person. I'm not talking about, oh, God, that guy's really cute. I'm super attracted to him right away. It's like there's this deep love that's different than romantic love. It's the kind of love that if you've had relationships, let it be even with a parent or a sibling, a child, a friend, that you've known for 20 years. That's the level of love that you immediately feel with this person from the second you look into their eyes. It's like the full body chills, and it's almost like their face can morph. It's like if you believe in the concept of past lives, maybe you would see their face morph into a million different faces. You know this person. You guys finish each other's sentences. You swear you have a telepathic connection. This is a super high level soul connection. And the biggest piece of it, which is going to bring us to, how we can transform ourselves as individuals through a breakup, the biggest piece about a soulmate level relationship is that there's a higher purpose of soul growth together. There's a higher purpose of personal growth. You're not just meant there to be domestic mates. Mm-hmm. There's something bigger involved. And on one level, it'll be about your personal soul growth, right? Your personal evolution of just growing and becoming a better person and transforming your shadow parts. And the other part is this feeling of fate and destiny together as a couple. That as a couple, there is something that you have to offer to the world together through your co-creation. It may simply just be the energy that you radiate as a couple that brings light, love, and joy to the people around you. Or it may be something like, you have a huge project or business that you're going to create in the world that's going to create lasting change on the planet. But what I want to focus on is the personal soul growth. And our soulmates, because we're so familiar on a soul level, all of the humanness and physicality aside, we act as mirrors to each other. We mirror the shadow and the light. And so I think another concept that we need to kind of debunk here about soulmates is that it's just about love and light and perfection and the fairy tale romance and all of our dreams come true and it's going to be all perfect and dandy because you finally found your soulmate. It's actually the opposite. Be careful if you're calling in a soulmate relationship, because the transformation and the mirror that they're going to show you is going to point out not only how beautiful and empowered and amazing you are, they're really going to remind you of your highest self of who you are as a remarkable, beautiful person in your life. And this is the catch, ladies. They also are going to reflect your shadow, your wounds, your karma, every blind spot you have about yourself that you may not be able to see on your own. They're going to reflect it back to you. And the final piece through that to remember as we go through our healing process is that it's a two-way street, right? It's so easy to get our heads wrapped up on, oh, this person's my soulmate, and he's reflecting my light, he's amazing. But we're their soulmates too. Mm-hmm. So we're going to reflect things back to them, not only, you know, and I'm not just going to use a heterosexual example. This is totally relates to same-sex couples as well. You know, you're going to show him all the ways that he is brilliant and powerful and beautiful and amazing in ways that he may not see himself, and you are going to trigger the heck out of him because just your presence, just you being you in that soul level reflection to him, you're going to point out his faults. You're going to point out his, you know, challenges. You're going to point out all the ways that he hasn't really been integrous in being the biggest man that he can be. You're going to stir up all of his soul growth as well. And the breakups usually will happen when the couple is not committed together to take responsibility for that soul growth. That's often a big reason why soulmate relationships end, is because people don't realize this is what's really happening on the back end. You know, the drama blows up in our faces and we see it as the drama instead of being like, oh my God, thank you, beloved. Thank you. You just pointed out something inside of myself that I really need to look at. And often people, if they're not on that level of commitment and consciousness, because it's a tough path to own your stuff every single moment. And it's completely accelerated. Everything is accelerated with the soulmate. Your love, your relationship, your work, everything gets accelerated. So be careful what you ask for and be prepared to do this deep level of soul work when you meet a soulmate.
Yeah. And what I found so powerful about what you just said is that, you know, we have this romantic idea of a soulmate that everything's going to be perfect. It's going to be so easy, and we're going to love and adore each other every single day, every single minute, and we're never going to fight, and we're never going to disagree because we're soulmates, and that's just the way it happens. And what I have found through my own personal experience is that, things can be very easy because there's this deep, as you call it, the soul level. There's this deep soul level chemistry where you really understand each other really well. But as you said, you understand both the good things and you also bring out all of those other things that really need to be worked on. And you mentioned how breakups happen when you're not willing to take responsibility, or you're not really willing to take responsibility for soul growth. And when you say that, you're referring to our personal responsibility for our own soul growth, correct? And not the soul growth of our partners.
Wow, that's actually a really great distinction, right? Because we cannot control someone else's transformation and change. And that's also another thing that happens when one person in the soulmate partnership is doing the work, right? Owning their stuff and doing, their counseling and therapy and really owning the patterns that come up, but then the other person isn't, right? They're not at that level of commitment, and so there you start trying to fix and change them. And the thing is, with soulmates, you see their highest potential. You see them in their highest possibility of who they can be as a human. And that can be challenging and detrimental because sometimes we don't see them just as they are as a human, and we expect them to be this magical superhero human, right? Completely evolved because we see that in their soul.
I've seen that. I've heard about this quite a bit, what you're talking about right now, from men, where they feel like they cannot live up to these high standards, or they feel like they can't be everything that their partner is expecting them to be. And even though they love their partner very much, it just becomes so much of a burden that they feel like it would be better to just break up so that she can find someone who is living up to that, who is this magnificent, perfect man that he feels like he can never be.
Absolutely. And when that comes up, guess what our soul work is? Like if we were that person that was having the too high expectations and the partner leaves, our soul work is then to look at how am I holding too high of expectations and trying to change someone? How can I see someone in their highest, but respect them in their humanness? You can still be a stand and remind them every day of what their possibility is. But then your soul work isn't, oh my God, I just can't find a guy to meet me, because that's what a lot of goddess type women, including myself, would say over and over again. I just can't find a guy who can meet me. They go through relationship after relationship, and they're so just frustrated because, they want this amazing evolved man, but really their life lesson is to step off the goddess pedestal, to be human, to be gentle, to be compassionate, and find a new way to hold space for someone else's transformation. And when you can get back down to that human level, that's actually when you will meet a partner who will meet you and will blow your mind out of the water and blow your soul out of the water once you step off that holier than thou pedestal.
Yeah, and I like that you're pointing out that with every single breakup, no matter how it happened, no matter what the cause of it really was, there is always an opportunity for both partners to experience personal growth. There's always an opportunity to look into that relationship and see, okay, what is it about me? What is it about me that I now need to work on and improve or address so that I can move forward?
Yeah, and a great example of that in my own personal life, I think a lot of women can maybe relate to this. It's so easy to be in a place of victimhood when you have a series of relationships and breakups where your partner cheated on you or maybe abused you. In my patterns, it was I kept getting together with soulmate level partners where we had that chemistry, that soul chemistry, but then they ended up cheating on me and betraying me. And I was not cheating. I was very monogamous and present and on board. And so when this last breakup happened before I met my current partner, that's when I put my foot down. I'm like, this isn't about them and my trust issues with men. If this keeps repeating itself, no matter how much work I do to trust men, it's got to be me. And it wasn't black and white, like, where am I cheating on him? Was I being a cheater too? The remarkable awakenings that I had around this, ladies, please listen up if you've been cheated on a lot and have trust issues. My blind spot was that I was cheating on myself and lying to myself and not trusting my gut intuition when I was in a relationship with a man that was being unfaithful and cheating. And even though on the surface, we talk about it, he said, no, nothing's going on. Really deep down inside, my gut intuition told me something's not right with this guy. He's not my life partner. He's not my perfect match. Something's fishy. He's not my perfect match. Something's not right here. And I lied to myself. I denied it. And as soon as I really, really got that, and it was humbling to finally own, oh my God, I'm a cheater too. And I've been breaking trust with myself the entire time. And until I realized that my true relationship and faithfulness and trust issue is with myself, bam, finally calling a man who is the most monogamous, integrous, committed, faithful being I have ever met in my life. I mean, I have not a doubt in my mind that he's going to remain honest and faithful and true to me because I trust my gut now. And it has nothing even to do, even if he did, do something in the future to cause this kind of trauma and pain, it's about me trusting my gut. So it's not even about me trusting him, I trust myself. So I think that's a great example right there, of when we really, really own our stuff and get out of the victimhood of what happened to me and why is this happening to me. Whenever you ask that why question, why did he do this? And why is my life so bad? Why? That's your victim. That's your victim voice talking.
Exactly. And I love this point about you understanding and coming to the realization that you were cheating on yourself. I had a similar realization of my own that, you know, I had this expectation for my first soulmate. I expected him to complete me. It was this very codependent relationship where he was supposed to balance me out. Everything that I couldn't do, he could do, and he made me happy. That was my source of happiness. And when it was over, you're right. I kept asking why, and it wasn't until I started to look at myself and say, and ask the why towards myself, why can't you make yourself happy? Why can't you be the source of your own happiness? And that's when things started to turn around, and that's when I started to change, and I started to not just attract different types of men in my life, but different types of relationships, period, with friends. My relationship with my family changed. And that's another point with soulmates, and you kind of hinted at this before, it's not just romantic soulmates that we can have. We can have soulmates we can be a soulmate with our best friend. We often are soulmates with our best friend or with a cousin or with a family member because we just have this deep soul level connection. But
yes.
I want to get back to the breaking up with a soulmate, because when we break up with a soulmate, we often are left with this sense of being literally heartbroken, as if we are walking around with an open wound. And as you've explained, there really is more than one out there for each of us. What are some of the ways that we can begin to heal those wounds to become healthy and whole again, and potentially attract our next soulmate and have that relationship be one where we're not repeating another pattern and having to learn lessons all over again, but we can move on and move forward with our own personal growth, and also have this relationship that is more transformative?
Yeah, well, whenever I went through a relationship transition, especially with these soulmate level relationships that, as you said, I mean, these ones aren't just breakups. I mean, these break your soul because you had this amazing soul level connection with someone. Really need to assess, you know, if this relationship is over in order to let it go. And some big questions I ask myself on a more spiritual level, personal growth level, to really assess if the relationship is healthy and happy to have closure. One of the questions I ask myself is, you know, did this relationship, or does this relationship encourage me to be more of who I authentically am? Like, do I have to hide parts of myself in this relationship? Am I being every piece of my personality? Can I show my shadow and my light and be held and seen? What parts of me am I not truly being? Like, for example, with my last partner before this one, he was not into spiritual growth or anything to do with self-help, anything to do with yoga or spirituality. These were huge parts of my being. And so I turned off that part of myself so I could be in harmony with him. I was not being authentic. And so that was a huge aha when I was trying to let him go, of being like, wait a minute, you know, 2 years together, and I was not authentic. I didn't have the space to be authentic. That helped me create closure. Another question to ask is, you know, do we inspire each other to grow and evolve together as individuals and as a couple? Are we evolving, or are we codependent? Are we just trying to be together to just be Band-Aids for each other because it's really comfortable and safe? Or are we pushing each other's edges to grow and evolve? And now remember, and this is where we're getting into the breakup part, your evolution often happens at lightning speed through the break up, not the being together. The being together, yes, you can have high times and low times. You can, be inspired to be a better person, but usually our most intense transformation that happens in our lives is through the conflict and the drama. That's when we really do our inner work. So again, look at that relationship and be like, were we stuck? Was I holding him back from being who he really was because of my jealousy and insecurity issues? Or were we really growing, continue to grow and evolve as a couple and as individuals? If it got to the point where both of you are just completely holding each other back, and you really need to look at how you've been being to them as well, that's when you can create peace and create closure with the relationship. And the final piece that I look at, the final question is, what lessons did I learn from the soulmate? If you really get to the point where like, okay, obviously we're not evolving together. I can't be authentic with this person. He can't be authentic with me. We went through all of our ups and downs and just we're stuck. We're not growing anymore. Then we can look at what lessons did I learn? Because if we don't do the work to look at the lessons that we learned, all we're going to do is repeat the same pattern over and over. If you just drown it with wine and cheese, go find the next guy. I guarantee you didn't deal with your stuff. I guarantee that same relationship wound and issue is going to show up again and again and again until you start recognizing the lessons that you learned with this person and then transform them, right? So like for my example was like my trust issues around infidelity. And I really pulled back after that last breakup and went within and didn't date for a while to really get to the bottom of the lesson learned from that breakup. So really overall, it's about one, really getting crystal clear that the relationship is over and done and that you've done everything that you possibly can to grow and evolve together as a couple. And from there, you can kind of own and create closure and not have this open wound with them. You can actually bow down and, energetically, bow down and kiss their feet and thank them. Thank you, beloved. Thank you for breaking my heart open. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the wounds. Thank you. We are whole, complete, and now I'm ready to move on. If we have those open leaks, all we're going to do is find someone else with an open leak, right? And you're going to mirror each other.
I so relate to that, and I can even speak to, with my soulmate, with the breakup of my first soulmate, and I always like to make that clear, my first soulmate, not the only one that I'm ever going to have in my life. But what I came to realize was that he was my first boyfriend, and once the relationship was over, and I held on even though it was over, because my heart was this open wound and there was no closure. You don't need to have the other partner involved for there to be closure. What you need to do is figure out what's going on with yourself, just like you said. And for me, I realized that I had been in that relationship repeating a pattern, repeating a relationship pattern and habit that had been happening for me since I was a child, of expecting someone else to be the source of happiness for me, or being in this mode of victim, being a damsel in distress, I should say, wanting to be saved and rescued by someone. And that's how I found my value and my worth. And that had been something that had been going on since I was a child, growing up in a very dysfunctional home, and, also as a student. And so once I recognized that, and I was able to see that I could do that for myself. And like I said, I started to attract different types of men into my life, which also meant I was now ready to learn a different sort of lesson. So people to really know that when a soulmate is coming, you are always going to be growing. If you're in a relationship with someone who is your soulmate, you're always going to be growing and transforming. And you will know when you learn the lesson that you needed to learn, because then you're going to get a whole new lesson that you're going to have to work through. But the thing about it is, when you do this work that you talk about, and when you do it consciously and with awareness, you're able to then create relationships that are strong enough as you go through this growth to withstand the growing periods and to go into new forms of growth. Because I like the point that you made about how you continue to grow and evolve with your partner. And when that stops, the relationship is pretty much over because it just becomes very stale and unfulfilling for both of you.
Yes. And we have to make sure that, like you said, we take responsibility for our growth with or without them, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's so easy to get, with all the best intentions, we do get codependent. I mean, how can you not really be codependent on some level when you're in a relationship with someone? The problem is that women who are on this level of consciousness and they lose their soulmate, break up with their soulmate, they think that they don't have that reflection and mirror anymore to do their growth. And so getting back to like steps of healing is, again, recognizing the lessons learned, owning your own stuff. And when you really get it, even if they did you wrong, the miracle comes when you can be in a place of complete, authentic gratitude. Mm-hmm. Even for the guy that cheated on you, to be in complete, authentic gratitude for pointing out the shadow part in yourself, like with me, with my inner trust issues. That's when the healing begins, and that's when we can start reaching out to looking for, a new partner. But it really comes down to this place of happiness and gratitude. And then what's another sign when you know that you're actually over them? Not only are you at peace with the breakup and you're reclaiming your own spiritual evolution, but sometimes I have found, and sometimes it takes years, when I really know I'm over someone after I've done all this inner work, is when you see them with a new partner and you're happy for them. Mm-hmm. You're truly, authentically happy for them because that person is now helping them on their evolution, right? Instead of that bitterness and resentment. If you're still bitter, if you're still resentful, and you carry that into the next relationship, you're going to get burned. So it's all about doing the work. And the more committed you are with yourself of really doing the work inside, not projecting anymore, right? Not imposing your dreams and your fantasies onto someone, really owning yourself and being authentic with yourself, that's when you're going to meet a new partner who's doing the same work. They're not going to be projecting onto you. They're not going to be sidetracking their spiritual growth. They've been doing the work, too, to own their stuff. It's all really about a vibrational alignment. This really, I don't know about past lives and all the stuff in the soulmate community. It's really about just a vibrational alignment of where you are on your soul evolution, right?
Right.
And to also realize that even in the beginning, you may have that romantic soulmate, true love, oh my God, I've known you for lifetimes, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes these soulmates show up in our lives, and we will be that person too, where we're actually wound mates. I call them wound mates. That your actual purpose was to break each other's hearts so big that's where you're going to find the spiritual growth. And that's a challenging one to own. And that's why it's not all about romantic fantasy. And those wound mates are probably the most important soulmates in your life because they're the ones that are going to break you open to your core, the worst heartbreak of your life from the wounds. But if you are conscious enough, you will see that as a blessing, not as a victim, not as a martyr, but see it as a blessing that they broke you open so big that you finally got to the core of who you are, the issues you need to resolve, and the love that you are truly worthy of. And to never go back again into a relationship, because really it does come down to unworthiness. That's something core human wound, that we're not worthy of love. So that's the healing we need to get, is to get to that place of 100% worthiness and to love yourself, because really we are our own soulmates, right? The biggest number one twin flame soulmate relationship of the world is reconnecting with yourself and being the love that you want to be in the world, right? And really transforming in a way that as you prepare for your next partner, the big thing for me is being the love that you seek. So when you're out there, going through your healing process and ready to call in your next beloved, take your list, right, of, everyone has a list of all the qualities and personality traits and relationship traits you want in your dream relationship. And take that list and hold a mirror up to it. How can I become that? How can I become more trustworthy? How can I become more financially stable? How can I become more healthy? How can I be more loving, compassionate, and kind? If that's the kind of man I want to share my life with, I'm going to do that work during my period of being single to be the love that I seek. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're not finding, like say financially, in my life, I really did want to have a man who was financially stable, yet over year after year, I kept dating these men who were in financial despair. And as soon as I cleaned up that part of my life, took responsibility for my finances by doing what I love, now all of a sudden I started attracting men that were financially responsible, and not only because they were doing what they loved. They were doing their passion projects. They were entrepreneurs and living like their true passion in life, not someone that just had a job and had some money in his pocket, right? Mm-hmm. And that kind of man who is living his passion and purpose and making a great income was exactly the mirror of who I want to be, right? So that's the whole other end of the practice, ladies, is when you start getting to that phase of reaching out and calling in a new partner, do everything you can to stop searching for them and become it. Become it and be it yourself. Be the love that you seek.
And when you say that, that kind of links back to what you were kind of hinting at before, and you mentioned it very briefly, was this idea of vibrational alignment. And I know that you've written about how your soulmate and life partner was right under your nose for quite some time, and that you didn't even see him because you were not in this vibrational alignment at the time. Can you tell us a little bit about that story and what it means, and how even in the midst of a breakup we can start to get into the vibrational alignment of the love that we really desire?
Yeah, so part of the funny story, and I'm actually looking out my window right now of our beautiful home, looking at the ocean, and I moved to this little beach town in San Diego a few years ago over just a vision, a dream, a random calling that this is the place I'm going to create my home and my life partner is here. And I used to go to this particular beach overlook every week to sit there and do my prayers and look out to the ocean and call in my vision of the soulmate life partner I want. His house is literally across the street from this viewpoint. I would park my car in front of his house every day for the last 3 years. And I never saw him because as much as I was there visioning my soulmate, my dream relationship, I was also still doing that breakup work in my heart of raising my vibration to be the match for him. And he was as well. He was still going through his own breakup and past relationships and doing his inner work to be the man that he is now. It was literally right under my nose, and we never saw each other until I got into this place after my last breakup and he his, of being whole and complete and not even searching anymore. I was just doing what I love. I just happened to be at the beach, doing what I love, being in my joy, being my radiance, and then bam, I met him on the beach, the same beach that we probably crossed each other's paths for 3 years and didn't even see each other. I mean, it's uncanny. Shop in the same grocery store. You know, we have a bunch of mutual friends. How did we not see each other? It wasn't until that day that, one, I wasn't longing and searching and grasping anymore. And I was happy. I was happy, and I was doing what I love, and that's how we found each other, is by doing what we both love. And it was just bam. I mean, one look in our eyes, I knew this is man I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And it's just been remarkable. And mind you, you know, it's not this romantic fantasy thing. I have been having every single edge push. I have grown so much. I have been so challenged by this relationship, and it's perfect. because I can be authentically me and he can be authentically him. It's just all about where we were at vibrationally to finally be able to see each other.
That's such a beautiful story and such a great introduction into what it means to be in vibrational alignment. And you said it yourself. It's about doing things that just make you happy, all on their own. You were just at the beach in your own joy. You weren't desperate to find love. You weren't looking at every single guy who walked by going, is that the one? Is that the one? Is that the one? But truly just being happy and joyous and doing whatever it is that you're doing in the moment. And that automatically raises your vibration and automatically puts you in a place where you are going to start attracting people and things to you that are on that same level of being happy. Whether or not it's your soulmate, not every single time you're happy are you going to like, bam, your soulmate's going to show up. But pretty much every single time you're really happy, you're going to be attracting other things that are going to contribute to that happiness.
Yes.
And be completely in alignment with that. I love that. So final question that I have for you, with all of your expertise and everything that you know about love and relationships, what is the number one advice that you would give to women who are feeling heartbroken by a recent breakup, but they still ultimately dream of having this loving soulmate lifetime relationship?
Be the love that you seek. That's the bottom line. Be whole and complete in yourself and start kicking on the hobbies in your life that you've always wanted to do. Go after your passion projects. Go take the dance class that you always wanted. Go start jogging on the beach if you wanted to get back into shape. Take care of your finances. Get close to your girlfriends. Just keep doing what you love and become the person that you've always imagined would be a partner, right, to this remarkable man or person. Focus more on living your life and following every single passion project you ever had. And when you're in that space, it's like online dating is pointless because you're not going to find that. You may find that person online, not to say that that's not possible, but you're more likely to find that guy, that perfect match, in that dance class or in the workout gym or at that business conference where you were going off and living your life to the fullest with or without them. It really comes down to that, of being whole and complete and happy, pursuing all your passions and dreams, especially if your previous partner was holding you back from doing it. Freaking go for it. Go for it, go for it, go for it. And after my last horrid breakup that led me to the beloved I'm with now, I published a book. I published some courses. Like, I went out and did my work and all these things that I didn't feel capable of doing in that old relationship that was holding me back. And that's part of where my soulmate guide to breaking up came from, that I took this formula through so many breakups of healing my own heart and applied it to my own life and shared it with so many friends and other girlfriends that were going through the same process that I actually wrote it out in this entire e-course audio program and so forth to remind myself whenever I slip out of it and go back into my pain and misery of how simple it is to nurture ourselves and own our shit and just follow our dreams and our passions without seeking, without needing, without feeling incomplete without this person in your life. And that's where the transformation happens.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Scarlet, Amor, for joining us today. Such great advice, such great insight on soulmates and how to actually attract the one of your dreams. And not only that, but actually how to have a relationship with them and to be completely aware throughout that relationship of what's happening, what needs to be learned, and what things to look out for to know when it's time for that relationship to end and when it's time to really stick it out and continue to grow and evolve within it. And don't forget to grab your free copy of Scarlet's Facebook Guide to Breaking Up. It is excellent and has everything that you need to know about what to do when you break up on Facebook, which is very much a modern girl type of problem to have. It includes everything from when to change your relationship status to how to remove your ex from your newsfeed, and of course that big question of whether or not you should block your ex. Head over to scarletamor.com/Facebook Guide to Breaking Up to get your free copy. And Scarlet, again, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, I am so happy to speak with you too, and I just wish the best to all the ladies out there. May your hearts heal quickly. May you love yourself enough to be the amazing woman that you are to find your next soulmate resonant match that's going to be all of your dreams come true and more.
Great. Thank you again, Scarlet.
Okay, take care. Thank you, everyone.